you, Alexandre, and thank you for being there. So I am Gaëtan Reynaud from Polytechnique Montreal. I'm working with Professors Frédéric Gosselin and Sébastien Houde in a laboratory for multiscale mechanics and with the TR Francis project. And I'm glad today to be there to present you my work, some the context, some results and outlooks of my works on physics-informed neural networks, and more specifically, an extension of this technique with a modal approach. So the world in which we are living faces major challenges: an increasing need of energy, a need for more affordable means of transport to increase social inclusion, and most of all, climate change, which requires us to drastically reduce our emissions. With that in mind, we have to improve the way we produce, transform, and use our energy. But that is quite an interesting engineering challenge, because designing hydroelectric turbines, windmills, or nuclear reactors usually takes decades to define and refine them, and a lot of scientific knowledge. And this is what we are doing in our collaborative research group with university and industries on fluid structure interaction in hydraulic turbines. So from a scientific point of view, we have two directions to tackle that issue: the mathematical modeling one and the empirical one. They both have advantages and disadvantages. From the mathematical point of view, we usually use the continuum mechanics as the appropriate tool to deal with that problem. So we translate it into the mathematical language with partial differential equation. They can be quite complicated to solve, so we can use numerical methods. For instance, here you can see a result using finite element and a modal analysis of a turbine. But this can be really time consuming. I'm speaking of months of calculus. And also we have to keep in mind that these are only limited representation of reality. So they may not capture every phenomena that may occur. On the other side, the empirical methods, it assures us that we are looking at the reality, but at some cost. For instance, you have often noise in your data, it's quite inevitable. Then you have to deal with the sparsity. In that video, you can see a Formula One car that is tested in a wind tunnel. And you can see a kind of pitot comb that is moving just after the front right tire. And it's recording velocity on a moving path. So you can imagine that's quite difficult to reconstruct this information from very few sensors that are moving. And finally, you can have problems of synchronization. I mean, if you have a tool to record time sampling of one physical quantity, you can use that tool at different locations, as it is done, in fact, in the F1 car. But you can start different recordings, and each recording, they will not start at the exact same time. So you may have problems of synchronization of your data to reconstruct the entire information. But in the end, we're looking for some quantity of interest. For example, a force, reduced order model, a limit of elasticity, and we are looking for some threshold, and we want a precise value on that threshold. And we are not necessarily interested in all that data that provided by the numerical iteration or provided by the empirical information, but would like to have a more precise result on our quantity of interest. And one way of doing this has been proposed recently by Professor Perdikaris, Raisi, and Karniadakis. It is called physics-informed neural networks, and the idea is that we are able to approximate any physical quantity using a neural network. So for instance, you got a pressure field that varies with space and time. So you will use a very simple neural network with only few scalar in input and very few scalar in output. So for instance, I got pressure that varies with time and space. I will put the coordinate in space in the input of the neural network and the pressure in the output. You can also put, for instance, 3 components of velocity, a displacement, anything. And there are two major strengths of that method. The first is that thanks to automatic differentiation, we are able to compute any derivative of the output with respect to the input. So in fact, we are able to compute any partial differential equation on the quantity we are approximating. So if you remember that from the mathematical point of view, we can describe solution of any kind of physical problems with a partial differential equation, we're able to find this solution using the neural networks by tuning the parameters of our model. But this is not the only strength. In fact, we can also use any knowledge that is, for instance, any data that we extracted from experimentation and put this in the loss that we are trying to optimize. And in fact, by combining these two information in the same optimization process, we are completely able to mix the two approaches in the same and very elegant way. From quite historic point of view, it's something very recent. If you look at that search query on Compendex, physics-informed machine learning, this is a topic that started to be discussed in 2015. But the first actual paper that put the basis of physics-informed neural networks, it has been published in 2018. And since then, lots of papers have proposed new applications, new fields of applications, and new extensions of that technique to tackle more complex problems. So this has been my work for 1 year now, and the idea is that I've looked at problems that present some periodicity, either in time or space. The idea is that physics-informed neural networks, they can have difficulties to converge properly when the problems become difficult. And if you look at, for instance, this field, it's a field of velocity that is moving with time. In fact, it's a flow over a cylinder. So there is a flow that is coming from that direction, and it encounters a cylinder. It's very common phenomena. If you look at trees in nature, and when you have milk, they start vibrating. It usually is caused by vortex-induced vibration. It is the same phenomena that is here, and that is done by the oscillation of velocity. But this field is quite heavy data. I think, in fact, this data depends on 2 dimensions of space and 1 in time. So it's 3-dimensional data, and there are lighter way of representing it. For instance, one way of doing this is to separate it in different modes. Sorry, technical problem. Well, so you can split this big information in two-dimensional modes. For instance, here you take the average of that, the average in time of this information. Here's the first frequency, the second, and etc. And all these information, they are 2-dimensional data, and this one is 3-dimensional data. So in fact, this representation is lighter because from a practical point of view, we do not need to go to an infinite number of modes. And in fact, just the 3, the 4, the 5 first modes, they are completely able to accurately represent that information when we sum them. And this is what we have enforced in our neural networks. So if we compare to the structure that was a classical PIN, here PIN is the physics-informed neural networks. Here we directly enforced the neural networks to represent these mode shapes, so two-dimensional information. And then we computed in the neural networks the modal sum that is just written here. And we are able to reconstruct that shape, in fact, and compute equations both on the output or on every mode. And this is something that brought a lot of simplicity in the way we approximate our physical quantities. And in fact, for the same complexity of neural networks and the same training time, we're able to gain up to 2 orders of magnitude of precision in some cases, which is quite a lot. And when we bring that simplicity to more complex problems, it lets us achieve quite interesting things. For instance, imagine I'm an experimentator, so I got a wind tunnel. I put a cylinder in my wind tunnel, and I am interested in reconstructing the field of velocity and pressure around that cylinder. But I do not have a lot of information. I do not know the boundary condition. I do not know properly how it is in the output, how it is on the top and the bottom of my wind tunnel. But I just know that I have a cylinder and I can make some measurements. For instance, I can put pressure sensor just on the cylinder, and I can measure velocity. I can record time sampling of velocity at some locations. For instance, with a hot wire, with a pitot tube. And at each point, I'm recording this kind of information. So here you have a signal that varies with time. And this signal, it can have noises and out of synchronization. And the idea is that thanks to the simplification that we brought using modal PIN, we are completely able to deal with these perturbations. Just a quick example of one result. Here you can see a result, a mode shape, the first mode shape of velocity reconstructed by modal pin. And here is the exact data that we extracted from our simulation. And in fact, they are quite exact regarding the random desynchronization that we brought in velocity measurement. So this is very useful from an experimental point of view, since I'm able to completely and accurately represent an information on a global scale, just using some few and sparse experiments, even of low quality. So I've shown you an example on a basic dynamic fluid case, but we could imagine applying that kind of techniques to vibrations in bridges, for instance, or any kind of solid vibrations, or to more complex flow. Here you can see a result from a work in TR Francis group, where you can see a periodic pattern in a Francis turbine. But more globally, any kind of continuum physics problem where you have periodicity or wave propagation could be tackled by that formalism. And I will be focusing for the next months on fluid structure interaction problems where we have to deal with interfaces, And finally, the added value of physics-informed neural networks, beside the field reconstruction using low quality data, we could do a lot more. For instance, we could use that information to compute reduced order model, when sometimes we do not need to have the global information, which is quite huge and cost a lot. And this information, we have to calibrate some parameters, for instance, an added mass in a fluid structure problem. And these coefficients, we could calibrate them using physics-informed neural networks. Something that is a bit related is the extraction of meaningful information from a raw set of data. Just imagine I'm studying a solid that is deforming. It has a complex shape, so it's complicated to properly model it into a finite element model, for instance. But I get a measurement, sparse measurement at different locations on how it deforms. And using this information, I could be able to, for instance, determine its Young modulus or its limit of elasticity. And maybe in a more medium-term future, the idea could be to use the information brought by PIN to update more accurately digital twins. In a digital twins, you have your actual system, for instance, a turbine, a motor, a train, and then you have a virtual copy of that system stored and that you try to update its representation using sensors. And then when you have a proper representation of it, you can better control it to make it work more efficiently and longer. And with PIN, we could do that with a better accuracy. I'd like to thank you for your attention and thank our partner for their support. And feel free to ask any question if you have. I can answer them either in French or English. And you can also contact me by email if you want.